palmer. Mountain back to Atlantic Ocean. Upon me hills to country. To educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah. Focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Reliable information. History. Talking about culture. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of On Point. This is our final review, the last day of the year. Everybody looking healthy, happy, and good looking. Everybody look well groomed, and that's how it should be. We got tons of issues to discuss today, and as we have always done, if it's Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, it is time for On Point. It is time for you to hear from the brilliant minds of On Point. We call ourselves the arrowhead of Focus on Liberia. There is no other show that you're going to have experts with expertise in the area and strong belief, unshakable. We are not people who flip-flops here. We are talking about guys and girls who stand on issues they understand. And believe me, there is no flip-flopping here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our final show for the year 2023. We are healthy, we are happy, we are well armed with information ready to discuss issues. Let me introduce the great guests. As usual, these are heavyweights. There's no flyweights here. My co-host, Jimmy Eastman from the nation's capital, is here. Mr. Tulsa and Tulsa, Mr. Ambassador, Diplomat-in-Chief. Mr. Eastman, how you doing there, sir?
It's wonderful to be here on the last day of the year. Let's make a roundup about what's been going on and what we expect. It's always a pleasure, Mr. Gilman.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And with me is the staunchest supporter of Joseph M. Boakai. He's going to tell us what is going on with Joseph Boakai, the instant transformation of Joseph Boakai from the ball from Foya to the Michael Jackson and all that other stuff. We will find out who Joseph Jackson that he need now, because the last time they were showing him photos of him dreaded like Jesse Jackson, not Jesse Jackson, Michael Jackson with his silver belt.
Okay, Mr. Gilman, this gentleman, thanks for having me.
How you doing there, sir? How you doing there? Don't put out your hand. Don't wave the white flag. How you doing, Mr. Kamara?
Yes, thank you for having me, Mr. Gilman. Damn.
Mr. Kamara, during the campaign time, he wanted all the time to talk. Now that his shoes is on the other foot, he put his hands up and said, "I'm just glad to be here." One word, that's it. Mr. Towell, great to see you. Our brother from Houston. How's the weather out there? How's the family?
Everything is good. Family is good. The weather is really nice. 72 degrees.
Oh, Houston is 72 degrees, and it's 56
sunny.
degrees here in Florida. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Towell, for coming. My erudite, one of the most, I'm talking about brilliant, up-and-coming analysts, Mr. Elvis Morris. How you doing there, sir? How's Minnesota?
Don't press what chicken too much for join right or Minnesota. Minnesota we just received our second snowfall, so we've been enjoying quite a dry winter so far, but it's good. I'm gonna say this. I'm as seriously excited to be seeing another year coming up. In just a few hours. I'm so happy to see another year, and for on point to be one of the great shows on this platform. It's great to be on this platform and great to be on this show. Thank you for having me.
Great. For the audience out there, please do us a favor. Everybody in here, please share the show in your network. Please share the show to families and friends. Join the debate. We're going to debate the issues. We're going to have time to read your comments. If you have time to call, you can call. No problem. Well, in Florida, we are basically mourning here. We just got our behind kicked by the Baltimore Ravens, 56-19. It's unbelievable how we crashed under the pressure of the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know how the guys are doing in Minnesota. I don't know how the Giants doing. I don't know how the Texans are doing. Everybody so far, it looks like this is the year of Baltimore for some reason. But let's get going here. We have had a great year. Income January, we on point. We are going to be celebrating our 5th year. And we're going to be paying tribute to the gentleman who introduced me, who brought me on, but tragically lost his life 8 months into our show. Mr. Edward Joe, his wife and the family will be here. And I'm glad that we all were able to keep up his legacy, something that he dreamed of. He said he brought me on because I was a strong support.
What's going on? I'm sorry.
What the police guy attacking me for? What did I do?
Gentlemen,
How are you?
guys,
You gotta mute Mr. Kamara.
Okay.
Mr. Kamara, the police in your house? Okay, let me Okay, so we have to keep, the gentleman brought me on. He says he's never seen anybody that was so staunch a supporter of George Weah, and he hated George Weah, so he wanted me to come on to be his counterpart. And I said, fine, let's do it. And right within that time, he took ill and just passed suddenly. And I'm glad that those of you who step in to keep the show going, we have to take our hats to him. But let's go in. Let's start going, Mr. Kamara. Are you okay now?
Still muted.
Okay. Are you okay now, Mr. Kamara?
Yes, I'm fine. Can you hear me now?
Good. Excellent. Mr. Tawo, there's a lot going on in Liberia, and we are here to discuss these issues. Let us share as we talk. When you get talking, I will get to share myself to make sure that all of our people come on, discuss. And then if you are a Christian tonight, it's the last day of the year. If you are African Methodist like I am, I will be in church by 10 o'clock. This is the only time of the year that the AMB doctrine allows for us to have church for 2 hours. It's always an hour, period. We don't stay in church too long. But tonight we are going to go through the tradition and the doctrine. And we're going to have something we call night watch. It takes us into the new year. I'm going to be doing that. Hopefully we all can do that or be somewhere safe where we can all bring in the new year. Mr. Eastman, there's a lot to discuss here within 2 hours. We're going to do the best we can to do an hour and a half so we can leave from here so everybody can go home to their families. Let's do this year in review, but we're going to do it backward. We're going to leave our president of the year, our politicians of the year, we're going to leave that at the end. So when we are leaving from here, we can nominate who are those that we find to be the politicians of the year. And we're also going to find out the political move of the year. Who made the best political move of the year that paid dividend? And then we are going to find out who are the losers, who took, gambled, and lost. We're going to discuss those at the end of the year. So if you were looking forward to nominating your own as
you gotta bring Anthony Gay on for that one there.
Yes, well, hopefully he's going to be here. So ladies and gentlemen, if you are out there in the comment section, you can also nominate your man or woman of the year, politicians of the year. You can also nominate your loser of the year. And you can also comment on your political move of the year. Who among all the politicians made the right move that paid dividend? We're going to discuss that. So, Mr. Eastman, let us do this. Let's start with the nomination of Musa Dean real quick. I know we touched on this before, but it has taken different angles. And then from there, we're going to go to the sudden transformation of Joseph Boakai, and then we go from there. So let's start with the Musa Dean thing here. It looks like this thing is becoming hairier and hairier. And me, as a supporter of this president, I want to believe that this president has gone rogue. Going rogue means in an organizational structure, when something or major decisions are made, we come together to the people or the executive committee and you discuss, and they have an input. But from my understanding and talking to friends and folks on the ground, the president is bypassing everybody. To me, in our Republican sense, we say he has gone rogue. He's going to do his own thing now. Mr. Eastman, talk to me. This thing is getting funnier and funnier.
Okay, so I'm understanding that the retirement that was granted Justice Nangbe the president did not have that authority, and that Justice Nangbe may not even have qualified for retirement. So I do believe a lot of these moves in the end of his tenure or his presidency is ill-advised. And so I kind of wonder why, who is advising him at this point, especially with the suspension of rubber, unprocessed rubber products at this late time. Why, all during the 6 years, why didn't you do it? Why now? So it appears suspect and not in best interest of the nation. So I think I will categorize this appointment with other of his other knee-jerk decisions he's taken at the end, and put it in that category. As for Musa Dean, it's difficult for me to comment as he's a buddy of mine. But I just think the move alone on the president's part was not in place. So that's why I will leave it.
Mr. Kamara.
Yes, sir.
The difference between everybody else and Sidisha is when we see something going wrong with our own people, we have no problem. I, as one of the staunchest supporters of the president, that had defended him from day one until the few, maybe the last 2 weeks or so. I think this president, my president, a man that I still support and respect, I think I want to use the Republican term, he has gone rogue. He is not consulting. I am not seeing the spokesman of the party. I'm not seeing the party chair. I'm not seeing the secretary general of the party. I'm not seeing.
It was the same question. It was the same question you asked Mr. Ismail, right? I already got the question. Let me just give the answer now. Look, listen. Things fall apart. You read that novel. Right now, everybody trying to protect themselves. The whole thing about Justice Nangwe putting in that letter at the dire minute was because he was trying to connive with George Weah so that George Weah can put this guy in his place. It's a whole arrangement. It was not based on legality. It was only based on the fact that George Weah is trying to protect himself.
Are you alleging? You're talking as though you know the fact and you were in the room when it was being arranged.
Okay. What I'm doing is I'm connecting the dots. That's what I'm doing. Okay, and this is beyond alleging. Because why would a president who is leaving within 3 weeks, want to appoint a chief justice? I mean, not a chief justice, but a justice. Why would he want to do that? A guy who has been sick for 8 months, according to him, 8 months he's been sick. And recently we did see him on Riverdo. But he's been sick 8 months and he's been in exile 8 months. Never cared at the time to put in this request. Only right now. Why? So look, the answer to your question, how long Joshua is in a situation, he's in a predicament, he's worried, he's fearful, He's trying to protect himself, which is not going to work anyways.
Uh, Mr. Morris, obviously, uh, it looks like the Unity Party people are still they are still in campaign mode. I don't hear the word alleged. I don't hear the word my opinion. He's talking as though it is fact. And
As
this
I'm
is why I
connecting the
don't like about
dots.
this is why I don't like about these folks. Because I call them political cross dresser. They are cross dressing. And you look at them, you look at someone like Mr. Kamara who will say, you cannot accuse Joseph Boyka of anything. You cannot transfer crime from Prince Johnson to him because these are different people.
All
And
right,
then
answer your question before you forget the
now here
question.
Mr. Kamara is telling us that he wouldn't even use the word my opinion or what I heard or alleged. He's stating there as a fact, Mr.
Well,
Morris.
how you define
Mr.
connecting the
Mr.
dots?
Kamara, you were done.
Mr.
Yes, Mr. Morris.
Mr. Mr. Gaiman, thank you for having me on. If you allow me to draw some parallels to the United States, the former Associate Justice of the United States, Justice Anthony Kennedy, voluntarily retired. In essence, asked for early retirement because the Supreme Court justices have a lifetime appointment on the bench. Asked for a formal retirement from Donald Trump, President Trump at the time, and it was granted to him. And Neil Gorsuch was appointed in his stead. Before Obama left office, a lot of Democrats was, imploring Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg to retire because of her, her advanced age and her health, record. Knowing that if there might be a Republican president, which at the time many people thought it was going to be Hillary Clinton, so maybe the justice at the time was confident that it would have gone to a Democrat as she passed or chose to retire. She refused to retire. And at the end of Trump's term, where everybody was hoping that she would hang in there, she passed. And it gave Donald Trump 3 justices on the Supreme Court, about about a quarter or a third of the justices on the court. So the president understands that, or at least the justice understands that, if this president is to come back in the future, if he still wants to be a president in the future, having his legacy intact, having his policies, reflected through the justices that he puts on the court, leaving this position vacant or possibly vacant in a couple of years or a few months' time, when Joseph Boyka gets there, maybe Justice Namboy, God forbid, passes, or is really incapacitated where he can't even walk or talk, and Joseph Boyka will have, the ability to appoint a justice early on in his term, and may have an opportunity. I think maybe there's a couple of other justices that are reaching that age of retirement, and before Joseph Boyka's terms elapse. So this is not only a quote unquote political strategy, but it's also a policy strategy that you want the president because there may be cases that may go to the Supreme Court that these justices will have to rule on. People think that the judiciary should be independent of the executive, which is fine. But we see that Republicans are quote unquote pro-life. They don't want abortion. They've been touting this position for the longest. All the justices that was put on the court, most of them, they asked them if they will overturn Roe v. Wade. They said no. When they went there and the case went to them, they overturned it. So they reflected the position of the Republicans. So this is about politics, and I think the president wants justices on the bench for the long term that will reflect his policy agenda. And if cases went to them, they will rule in favor of the CDC, ideology, so to speak, if there's anything of the sort. So I think the president is well within his rights to nominate a justice who he thinks will be there for a longer time than a justice who he nominated early on his term that is somewhere close to being incapacitated or already incapacitated. And the issue about him having the authority, Mr. Eastman, I think you're right on that point through the law, but there's also compassion in the law where you can kind of circumvent certain things based on compassion. So the legislature can have the ability to say, you know what, through special circumstances, we will grant him his early retirement because he served our country. Especially if they want to say he served it honorably, they can grant him that early retirement along with the president. So I don't think anything is wrong with it. I just think the individual that we're talking about in Musadi is the wrong individual, and perhaps the president can nominate somebody like a Gonglo or Archibald Bernard or some other, astute lawyer who have served with dignity for a longer period of time than what Musa Dean did as the Attorney General of Liberia. I'll leave it there.
Mr. Gilman?
Yeah, Mr. Yes. You wanna.
No. You were taking too long. That's why. But I just wanted you to know that FJ agreed with me that the whole thing is arrangement. But go ahead to the next person.
No.
It always is, even in this country, Mr. Kamara. So there's nothing wrong with it.
Listen, Mr. Tao.
Yeah.
In this country, we look for legacy on the Supreme Court. I think you heard the famous term, the Warren Court. The Warren Court. The Warren Court is the court that actually established the protection of women's rights. For over 50 years, that law was in place. And then the Republicans been chipping at it, and finally they brought in a populist who were not only popular, but were lucky to some extent to have people die on his watch, to have people retire on his watch, to have them replaced. And he had the majority, and he rushed them through. And today we have the Trump court, because he has almost all conservative in the majority.
And that's good.
One of the most important decisions that the Supreme Court has ever made, the Roe v. Wade. So here we are, President Weah is establishing the Weah Court, which is a court that may reflect his ideology, especially the pro-poor agenda for prosperity. And long beyond that, Mr. Tawo, your take on the president's moves and his constitutional right to appoint and to work until January 22nd at noon, midday, before he relinquishes power to the next government. Go ahead, Mr. Tawo.
First, before I address this issue, I want to point something out. Liberia is not America.
Mm-hmm.
This is the mistake, because you see, each time our young people and many of us, this is a mistake that we'll continue to make. America is a European country, a Eurocentric culture and ideology. They have their sociology, their philosophy, or their all of this stuff is different than us. So the one mistake that we'll continue to make in Liberia, in particular across Africa, is trying to form this government, the governing systems, this political ideology that is completely foreign to us. This is why it continues to fail us. Even in the form of democracy or whatever that we have, it has not worked. It's what, 200 years we model ourselves continuously after America, and what has it led to? Disaster, failure, corruption. It's all of these things. So each time we are having this discussion, it's not just on this platform, but it seems like it's generally across the board. We always want to draw, I'm in Liberia and every little thing, even the great United States of America. We are not America. We are Africans. We have very good culture, good justice system that is rich in ethics and values. These values and ethics in African society is lacking in European culture. In the African society, a man's word is his bond. What you don't say.
I think you're pushing it. I think you're pushing it a little too much now.
So I just wanted to clarify that first before I actually go to the issue.
Okay.
But for me, from my understanding here, I'm not too versed in like the actual things that go on the ground when it comes to the actual local party politics. And the reason for me on that is because what's happening at the party politics is actually symptoms of the larger things that are determining things from what you call from international arena or stuff like that. I spent over 25 years reading over 300 books, going to different stuff, and I know how the system in Africa, Liberia in particular, is working. None of this stuff is dictated from our own environment. So if somebody, because when we try to say here, they say, oh, you try to blame the other places. No, we are not blaming. We have empirical data. We have the record. We have pattern. I'm from the science area, so if you see something repeat over and over, and you have the evidence. But well, the president, from I would say, from my opinion, and I would speculate, right? So I'm not drawing any kind of hard evidence. The president coming at this time to appoint Musa Dane, and you saying you guys are familiar that he's gone rogue. I remember last time on the show I heard that people are trying to remove the president. There is a lot of inner wrangling. So this who to me demonstrate that there is some serious power struggle within the party right now, which is on some instances is common when a party have been together when they lose election or there is something they're trying to reorganize themselves, right? There's some people going to be pushed out of the way and all of this stuff. But if the president is not consulting, I want to believe is that power struggle. But why would the president want to put Musa Deen on there? I follow all of the things that happen when Musa Deen as Attorney General, as Chief Justice, or Justice Minister. He couldn't even address a single one of these cases. He didn't have the balls. He had, if it was not Koji or it was how you call it, the Solicitor General, they were overriding him, disrespecting him. He couldn't even stand up to anything. He didn't solve any of the murders. He didn't nothing. So what qualified him? And I followed specific things during that time. There were people like the chairman, not the chairman for the party, but how do you call this guy? Malu accused him a couple of times that, and there were agitation for his removal, but the president stuck with him. Now Morris made a point, and Kamara made a point. Would be that we see all these possible indictments or charges, sanctions, that then the president is probably saying, hey man, I had your back all this time, because some of these cases, like Morris rightly said, there could be cases that go to the Supreme Court, but I don't believe it's going to be because of any kind of legacy. I want to believe it will be personal protection, like Kamara said. So now, if he can put Musa there and he have the Chief Justice Senayo that he appointed, that's some serious support that he will have in that area. Could this be what is leading to this, that he's not listening to the party? I don't know, but I want to speculate that is what I would think it is.
Great.
But when it comes to the Musa thing, I don't think he's qualified. When I mean qualified, I'm not talking about his credentials, but based on the work that he did in the last 6 years. He really didn't.
Let me push back on. You were saying what we are doing in Liberia is wrong, but you're forgetting to know that the foundation of Liberia, the Constitution, everything that has to do with Liberia was modeled after the United States.
That's the
I'm
problem.
not wrong. I'm saying that's the problem.
Okay, so then you were saying here that they are imposing, yet and still we have our own Liberians, we have our native people, like you, like Mr. Eastman. We are native Liberian. We are real Liberian. Americans are not imposing. We are there misleading ourselves, being corrupt, doing the wrong thing. Mr. Eastman, help me out here.
But maintaining.
Yeah, I like Mr. Towell's point that we as Africans have a unique culture, and that we need to address our issues, the laws, and everything with considering our African culture. I totally agree. On this, at the same time, the law has to apply. If we agreed, if this is in the Constitution, we have to apply it as it is written. And until we begin to do the requisite research like you have done, and understand how can we arrange or rewrite our Constitution to suit our African culture, then we can only go by what is on the books. But
Yes.
even at that, we have seen in Africa, not just Liberia, all throughout Africa, Africans not acting in behalf of their people, but do things contrary to the interests of the people for their own selfish gain. That is human nature. That's not African. That is human nature. So there are always going to be elements of human nature that will drive people to do the wrong or the right thing. So as much as we want to promote our African culture, is it going to be very much different than human nature? Is it going to be very much different than the laws that we've established? You know, so let's not give excuse that we adopted because we agreed to adopt this culture. We had the opportunity in 1886 to devise a new constitution. But what we did, wrote the same old constitution. We had people like Kessler, Amos Sawyer, those people, those well-learned people. We had an opportunity to do it all over again. We had a referendum on the Constitution, or Gloria Scott led. What did we do? We did the same thing. We are, as much as we've given the opportunity to change things, we keep in the status quo, and then we can't blame a Western culture that this thing doesn't suit us. We have to blame ourselves from not making the appropriate adjustments. They're not doing the requisite research so that we will have a better united country.
Yeah.
Great.
Can I make a quick point to that?
Okay,
Just less than a minute. Yeah, Mr. Eastman, I agree with you completely. It is Africans maintaining that, right? And so that's the problem. And the problem here is I'm saying that we started on the wrong footing. Okay, like the referendum, but how it's not possible for an African people to participate in something that they don't understand. We say we have democracy. How is it defined? Because from how it's defined to us, government of the people, for the people, and by the people, right? If you go by that definition, then we don't have democracy, because you have a form of government that 99% of the population don't understand, that it's foreign to them. So you could put something on a ballot and say, let's have some referendum on this issue, but the people don't understand it. So they cannot adequately participate in that and even know which direction to move in order to change it. And in the first place, the small group of us who to some extent try to understand this, denigrate our own culture and our own people. We look to the point where they are shocked on self-esteem. Each time it's like us versus them.
Right.
So that all the factors are in there. So it's left with us. Yes, the law still have to apply, but what we are agitating for is that we can still be doing this, but we should have the desire to want to change this, and we should start somewhere.
Right.
Because the fear for me here and the concern is that as we are speaking, the culture is being eroded as we speak.
Mr. Damon, please let me respond.
You can't have this, and it's still coming, and the little that is left is being washed away.
Okay, great. Mr. Morris, real quick, so we'll move on to the next topic.
Right. Look, I'm not an expert on African culture, right? But I think on this very channel, there are people who have said that democracy, itself came from Africa. You know, the way people used to do things, during the ancient days is what quote unquote democracy is reflecting right now. My point here is from our contemporary culture, where you have things like sachet wood and drinking bitter leaf or other things like that to identify if a person is guilty or not. Are those some of the elements we should bring in the modern day to in our justice system? Or are there other elements that maybe I don't know about that would be beneficial to our people? Because if somebody does something in the village, I don't know how they judge the kids, but one of the main ways that they did it was through the sachet wood.
No, it's not true.
So
let me
that's what I
come in there for a second.
Yeah, real quick, so we'll move on to the next topic.
Yeah. Sometimes others can just see things the wrong way.
No, I put a caveat. I said I'm not an expert, and the things that I know is the ones I'm saying. So if you have something more, then
No, but I'm not saying you did
yeah.
bad, so you can put it. I say you can put it
Okay.
the wrong
All
way.
right, go ahead, Mr. Kamara.
Now, yes, Africa is democratic. Africa has always been democratic. In fact, compare Africa to modern Europe. Let's not talk about ancient Europe, modern Europe. All right. In Africa, Namibia, female leader. Botswana, female leader. Way before the coming of these people you call civilized people now. Even in Liberia, you have Baraja, female leader, from Mama Gamalo to Langolepe, among other people. If you check in Ghana, their military leader,
Ashanti Wa.
yes, was a female. And men were honoring those people. Men made them leaders. So when they turn, what my brother is telling you now is that they turn everything around, make it seem like what they did was they modify everything and suit it to their culture. They kind of infuse their culture and then impose it on you. Now it's up to you now. Now if you don't go according to what they define as democracy, Evers, then you're undemocratic. You
Great,
understand me?
great.
So that's why you need to understand. So those democracies started in Africa, but these guys took it, they turned it around for you now. The far liberal is modern democracy for you. But the reality remains we can improve on our democracy and still reflect our culture and value. And again, Mr. Ismail is correct. We cannot blame other people because in fact the other people brought a book, they taught you, they give you the option to choose between what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and you still continue to keep their constitution, then that's your choice. It's not them. So I agree with that.
Mr. Ismail, if you can go in our chat room and please put up the picture I just sent about the logging company. If it's possible, Mr. Ismail.
Okay.
We are going
to let me try.
Yeah. Our next topic here is something that we can segue into because it's very similar to what we are talking about. What affects us? Why is it that we always denigrate what is ours and allow the foreign folks, when it's good, it is good for us to take what is good and augment what we have, get rid of what is not good in our culture and replace it with something good, but it always have to be in our favor. But for the past 300 years, Liberia, 1822 to 2022, we were 200 years old. 2023, we are 201 years old. And here we are. We are compounding our cultural difficulties. We are coming to the second portion here, which is the carbon deal. And the reason I'm glad that Mr. Tao is here is because I'm about to put up a photograph that came out of Grand Bassa County. When I'm in Bassa every year when I go, this is what I see. This is what I see. Mr. Eastman, you have it?
I don't see it, my friend. I don't see it. It's not there yet.
You don't see anything in our chat room?
I see different things, but not the...
I even send this to you. This is what it looks like. If you can see, what do you see that is the best?
It's a bunch of logs on a truck, right?
That's correct.
Oh, I saw that. I did see the expectation of logs. But I didn't. Let me see if I can find it. Go ahead.
Yes, this is
but
it.
Not in the chat.
Reason I'm putting this here, Mr. Tao and Mr. Kamara. You spoke on this extensively during our carbon, and I'm just glad that this one, a friend of mine sent me this. This is the most likely the Bassa Highway. This is what's happening.
And I think that proves my point, Mr. Gayman, because people are saying our people are not cutting down the forest; they were protecting it. And I said it's not true.
But,
yeah, you see it,
Mr. Tao. This is what we are talking about. These are the people who are telling us that our people can no longer hunt. They can no longer make farm. They can no longer make farm because when they brush the farm, they are killing the
cut those trees. So they want that tree now. They say I'll go my farm so that they get down for the tree. Look at it that way. The high looking.
Mr. Tao, look at this.
Yeah. So let me speak. Let me speak. I see it. And my cousin was just in that area. He came back in that same area what you're pointing out. That is around the number 4, number 5 belt. My
correct.
cousin was just there. He came back and he took pictures of these guys. The people been over there in that area for at least the last 500 years, through like maybe 10 generations, and those trees have been there. They don't go and chop those trees down. They just open a small area farm. So I will address that, but like something about the forest management from the African perspective. I want for my young brother Morris to hear this. I spent some time in the villages and in all these places. Our people have a unique way of managing. The African culture do not carry on mass consumption. That is strictly a Eurocentric stuff. When our people have the forest, they see forest as connected to a deity. They see the rivers, they see all these things, they see the mountains. They don't go and chop these things down. So when they talk about environmental protection, the people who abuse environment the most come to you under this disguise that their way of doing things is best. And they somehow try to convince you to follow them. But when our people farm in one area, they leave that area for 7 to 10 years. And the forest recover. My grandfather, Mr. Tao, they will impose moratorium. They have people to assess the forest and the rivers. If the fish stock was being depleted, if the forest was being depleted in some way, it would take sometimes 7,000 acres between various clans and they will impose moratorium. No one entered that forest. No one hunted in that area, sometimes for 10 to 15 years. And the forest will fully recover. So I just wanted to put that in there because it seems like there's some things because you don't understand, or that most of us, not just you, don't understand about our culture on how we manage the resources that we live on. Europe and the Europeans have nothing to tell us about resource management. These are people that within a short period of time to strip Europe.
Yeah, but
respectfully, that keeps you underdeveloped, and it keeps you not to innovate. It keeps you in a how do you even say the word?
Morris, please hold on. Europe that can't tell us anything about any kind of resource management. In a short period of time, they strip the whole Europe bare, and they have to scatter
all the animals,
trying to conquer other places for resources. These people are like scavengers.
We want our country to look like European countries.
But listen, we want to talk about development. What type of development? When we're talking about development,
development in our own way, not the European way.
The Western style of development, that the world that they're trying to push for the world to follow today cannot be sustained. It cannot be sustained.
Mr. Kamara.
Something have to change.
Yeah, Mr. Kamara.
But let me wrap this up real quick. Let me wrap this up real quick. That cannot be sustained. So we're trying to point at development at the expense of wiping out an entire people and an entire ecosystem. Then they don't make any sense. But look, did anybody follow the final carbon stuff that they had in the Middle East? Do you know what it went on to? The whole thing broke down. But the only reason for which they went over there was to create this stuff as if it was something they invited all the Africans, as Brother Ismail said, that we're all messed up. We're still trying to follow what people tell us. The goal was for them to allocate African forests as a mitigation to their pollution and a constant or destruction or whatever they call the planet. The whole thing broke down when they got done. What they wrote in there was not to hold any of the so-called developed countries responsible to do anything, to change anything, but to still do the same carbon trade.
Great.
Which then would designate the African forest. But while they're designating your forest, you are not supposed to touch it. The whole thing is so you who own that place cannot use it. This is the thing here, that they can come in with logging, with mining, with everything else. This is the reality, gentlemen.
Good. Mr. Kamara.
Yes, sir.
You are, I don't know, Mr. Ismail, I know you saw this logging thing here. This is terrible. The size of those logs, Mr. Kamara, you grew up in the interior just as I did. There is no cutlass There is no cutlass
Mm-hmm.
strong enough to even cut the bar, not the tree, but the bar, to cut the bar of these sequoia tree that are sometimes 3 to 6 feet in diameter.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're not even replanting. In Europe now, in Norway, they have begun to design their city differently now, that they are going to build within the forest. The design, the new city design is that they are going to build the cities where they're going to have a central park in between maybe every major state, so they can have the city within the environment, which is the new thing. If that is the new way to go, why they not allow us to do it? They're cutting down everything that we have.
Mr. Given, first of all, I will blame us. Looking at those logs, see those guys, they not walk in there and just cut
There
those.
you go. There you go.
There were concession signs. And those who signed those concessions, they don't have the balls or the character to follow up on those concessions and make sure that the forestry law, the rules of the Liberian forestry, is followed. So these guys, they do whatever they want to do. So listen, we have to pressure our government, this particular Joe Barker government. We have to pressure our government to seek the interest of the Liberian people first. But let me just clarify, let me just say something here. Mr. Gilman,
German,
somebody line is pretty bad.
Everybody pin me while he's talking.
Yeah, somebody line is pretty bad. Mr. Gilman, let me tell you this. Look, as far as the imperialist European is concerned, Africa is still in captivity. Not just Africa, anywhere that is occupied by black people. Just like the British is still collecting taxes in Jamaica and other places. They live in England, in the United Kingdom, but they rule over Jamaica and those islands around here. Tell me if that's not captivity. They make the past, back in the day, they used to go to the chiefs, to our chiefs and stuff, get them tobacco, salt, and other things, and put our brothers and sisters in chain. Now they can't do that no more. So what they do, they look for the most booger government, the most robust stem leader. They make him or her president of your country. And then they go through them to pass all of their agendas. Like they were doing in Niger until the military got tired with it. Like they were doing in Burkina Faso until the military got tired with it. They did it to George Weah throughout his 6 years. After George Weah's 6 years, they knew that George Weah had nothing to offer them. They have dumped him. Now they're going to sway. They're going to turn around to Joe Barker now. And we are watching that old Negro. If he passes anything,
Don't say that, Mr. Kambara.
I'm a Negro. I'm a Negro. All right? If he passes anything over there that does not secure the future of the Liberian generation to come, 10th generation to come, you see how we'll go after Joe Barker in that country.
Allow me to comment quickly.
Yeah.
Allow me to comment quickly. The thing that the trick, or I could say the strategy for us, is to know where to strike a balance. Because you see the amount of logs leaving Liberia. Those are going to somewhere where you will make furniture and whatnot. Now, there is something we call the industrialization of a country. And a lot of times to industrialize a country, you use natural resources like the forest and whatnot. But where do we strike a balance? Where do we allow ourselves to be industrialized enough, at the same time not be like Europe, who has stripped all their forests and have decimated all the protective vegetation, and now we have global warming. But we have a different situation than the Europeans. For us, we still need to develop. And at the same time, now we have global warming. Where do we strike that balance to say, okay, y'all don't want the forest to go, but we still need to industrialize? We're supposed to be making deals that they give us the technology so that we could leave those forests or not do as much damage to our forests, or they provide the technology that we can use other things to industrialize.
But Mr. Ismail, look here. You struck a great point, Mr. Ismail. Let me just tell you, Liberia will have different kinds of lands. We have the forest lands, we have savanna lands, we have open prairie lands. Like for instance, look at Margibi County. Most of Margibi County is not forest. From Monrovia all the way to Haber is not forest. From Monrovia all the way to Kakata is not forest. In fact, beyond Kakata is not forest. The place they call Young, the place they call Yangoli, those places, they do not grow these kinds of trees. You can build cities in those places. In fact, it's not the entire Sino County that is forest. That is a forest. All right.
Well, how do you build a cities without the money? Now, how do you get the money? It's by selling your resources, and your logs are some of your resources.
Mr. Ismail struck a reasonable point. You want me to spoil it. The point okay. he said, where can we find the balance? Would the balance be that we get this guy the logs, they deplete the logs, and no reforestation? Is that the balance? No. How can we get there? Now that's the technical.
What's the alternative, Mr. Kamara? You give us the alternative, since you think it's not the right way to do it.
He laid it out on a board pressing. Give us the technology. Give us something. Give us 60 or 70, 30. We got 70. You got 30.
For what? In exchange for what? They're giving you technology in exchange for what?
Development. In exchange for some of our natural resources. With the agreement of replanting those things as well.
Right.
Mr. Morris, there's a lot of money to be made, like Mr. Kumar is saying here, Mr. Kamara is saying here. We have reforestation. That is a major industry where you could hire 500 to 5,000 people to replant. You can also do us a favor by processing those logs in the country where you can hire people, pay benefits. We talk about retirement, we talk about school, we talk about other, but as it stands, everything is leaving, raw material leaving the country with nothing. We're talking about people making 50 cents an hour. What is it?
I will import it down the road here.
Mr. Gavin, let me come in quickly, please.
The wage bill was $6 a day, and they're not even abiding by that, and they are taking almost everything. These things, they are not infinite. They do finish.
Okay, there you go. Now you're making my point. My point, don't make my point, please. Let me make my points. Our resources are not infinite. They're finite. They will finish at some point. But the one thing about trees and logs, they can be replenished in about 5 to 10 years. A full-grown tree can regrow.
Take long to grow. The big trees take very long to grow.
So
yeah, the big trees take longer to grow.
500 years old, man.
No, I know. But the point I'm making, when it comes to in terms of the forest, you can always, like you said, somebody said it will take 15 years and the forest will replenish itself, for example. But our iron ore, our more valuable resources are being depleted since the time of Tubman and Tuber and other people. They've been mining ore. No, the point I'm making is we are running out of resources to sell. Our most valuable resources are being depleted faster, and they've been depleted since since the 40s and the 50s and so on. So now, if George Weah wants to do something, and wants to be innovative, this is about innovation of quote unquote. Hold on now, of selling resources to get money. The fact is, we're not innovative enough to create anything new that the world needs. That will, Liberia will become a hub for some business transaction in something unique. Whether it's technology, whether it's research or medicine or whatever.
Okay, Mr. Evans,
please give me my. I haven't been talking a lot. Please give me.
Equip the school, equip the hospital for. Let's start with that one.
All of those things cost money.
Let's start with that one.
All of those things cost money.
And towns, let's start with that one. Bring running water.
One second, Mr. Kamara. 1 second, please.
Let's start with that one. The low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, but all of those things cost money for a country the size of Liberia. We think we're small. Please. So how do we get the money? That's the question. How do we get the money to get those things started? How do you get the money?
Got the money.
Listen.
I can tell you how you get the money.
He said the devil is in the details. The way we wrote our contract, and we talked about it, even the European Union, okay? They came out. We talk about global witness. They said,
Mr. Gamey, I didn't finish my point. Please let me finish my point before you come in.
Len, go ahead.
I will give you an example like China, right? China was exploited to be where they are today, and they willingly accepted that exploitation. What do I mean? China, the labor force in China were being paid cents on the dollar to work, what people were calling sweatshops. But China knew that they were playing the long game. They got exploited for their labor. In exchange, they used that exploitation to quote unquote steal, intellectual properties. Please, Mr. Kamara, you interrupted me. They stole intellectual properties and they exchanged it for intellectual properties, and then they built those things cheaper and sold it on a wider market for a cheaper price. So we're going to be exploited at some level to develop. You guys can't come here with you can't come here with the moral argument that we're on equal footing and that our deals have to be 50-50 and we have to be in some kind of balance negotiation. Yes, we're at a disadvantage. So when you're talking about people coming in and logging your forest and you don't want it to happen, fine. You can keep hold on now. You can keep all of your trees, but your people is going to remain poor because you don't have any innovative ways to raise money to develop your country.
Innovative ways.
Okay, tell us the innovative way. Tell us the innovative way, please.
Real quick, guys.
We have innovative way to sell oil black. We have innovative way to get $100 million in our own personal pocket.
How?
We have the ways to do it.
Listen, guys. Let's do this. Mr. Taiwo, you got 1 minute to close on the. Let's go to the next topic.
Okay.
Here.
So look at what happened here. I don't know why this stuff is so difficult for us to think that in the first place, I think there is a lot of misconception here on people just don't know. You think Liberia, Africa as a stand, because the fact that we can't blame ourselves. Nobody's blaming themselves, but we are establishing the historical evidence. Though African countries have created economic blocks, and they're still functioning that way. Mr. Morris, you keep asking the question, where do we get money from? Imagine a system in which everything that Mr. Goodman needs for him to survive, him and the family to survive, you have it. But he find a way for him to tell you that the thing of no value, but he will print some piece of paper or assign some numbers called line of credit. And then that become money. Your budget in Liberia and across Africa. I've studied this. I have friends that work with the IMF. The loans, you are forced to take them. Your budget in Liberia is not drafted there. It's not approved there. It's done by the IMF and the World Bank. No, you need to understand. So before you say we're blaming somebody, we're telling you how these things are functioning. If you look at all of the World Bank program that is set for Africa, because first what it did was all those states that it created, they're serving states.
Rwanda put start to that. You can put start to that too.
They bankrupt because they tie you to credit. They tie you to the monetary system. So you keep asking that question that you're asking is legitimate. How do you get the money? And in the first place, why do you need money if you have other resources?
Are you what are you saying? You want us to go back to the olden days where people were trading stocks?
Let me close.
Let me take time here to recognize.
You guys are being idealistic. You're being idealistic here. Talking about imagine. This is not an imaginary world. We're living in reality.
Man, let me close 5 seconds. If you see other World Bank programs, well, Liberia in an African country, have you heard anything about industrialization? They always say development. Development is never
borrow more money from us.
Why? Because you're not allowed to be industrial. Because and then the law is that there is no this development without industrialization. If they're telling you that you're going to develop without being industrial, it's fake. You wanted to point out China. China was never exploited in that way. China, listen, and no, China was not exploited in that way. I studied the whole stuff when in 1974, when Nixon took Kissinger, when they went to China for them to negotiate with Deng Xiaoping and Mao them.
Yeah, Mao was there. It was Deng Xiaoping, not Mao.
Listen, it was about labor. But what was it? If they tried this with Africa, Africa would be just like China. They brought the industries.
Africa, but they had the education, but they had the education.
Industry. In China, they brought the industries. Know the difference between the two. They brought the
you just said it was about labor. They exploited them. The labor fees that they were
But how
paying was
come they can't
way
exploit your
below
own
market
labor now?
level.
Okay.
Why they just create an opportunity for you to have those kind of labor?
Mr. Tao, thank you very much, Mr.
Yeah,
Eastman.
let's go to the
On this
next
topic.
topic.
Let me before you come in,
General,
let me recognize Festo Festus is a friend of ours. Been watching. He watches from Las Palmas, Spain. Got River Says Pro. We got Ambassador RC Nimlin Jr. We have Telvin Stewart. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. We have Mr. Emmanuel Bro. He always here commenting. Actual Factual is another guy who always, a girl who always commenting on our issues here. Mr. Flomo Livingstone, as usual, he's always here opining on stuff. But let's go to this. Let Mr. Eastman close out on it.
Yeah, right.
Can
Okay,
you
so
put a picture of that log back, please, if you can?
Yeah, okay, let me do that.
Yeah, go ahead. Now you can comment.
Wait, let me get the log picture up, then I will comment. Both of the all of us, okay, there we go. All of us have been making very, very good statements. And I think Mr. Tower was identifying the pitfalls where the ill way of doing things that we get nothing. And Mr. Brother Ali was saying that, look, we do have to do certain things to industrialize. But there is a solution. Every one of you guys saying the right thing, but and you say, what is the solution? The solution number one, for instance, value added processing. Those big logs are not supposed to be leaving like that. They should have gone to at least a sawmill.
That
gone
one
to
is
some processing.
That one of the solutions.
I wanted to do.
You come up with that solution. Mr. Eastman came up with that
No, but I
solution.
can't spell everything for you. Let me spell it out for you now. Go ahead.
Raw material leaving the country. Raw material. All the years that Firestone been taking our raw material. Ever since something like what we have said the other day, that they need to do some processing in Liberia, they should have said that thing a long time instead of just taking our raw latex. Another thing that we don't do, and we can't blame nobody, investment in human capital. Believe you, as long as a man knows how to do things better, a man or woman, he knows how to use his hands, he knows how to be productive. The country will benefit from his productivity in the end. That's what Ghana did. That's what a lot of countries did. They first invest in
the development, attack the youth with education, training.
Thank you. Okay. Another thing is to provide the infrastructure that you need and make the kind of deals that will benefit you. You just don't take every deal because you strike off like this awesome middle deal. Why did we take such a deal? At the time, we didn't have any income, no revenue, and they saw this as a gift from heaven. And they give everything that port. Nobody gives you exclusive rights to your port. You give exclusive rights to the railroad. Why are we giving everything away like that? We have to exercise our discipline and take better deals tomorrow. That's what we got to do, and stop being,
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Liberia is being logged to death, and we've been iron ore to death. We've been diamond to death. We've been gold to death.
We told you to not renew that contract. And your state did it, Mr. Gimme. That Aslot meter, Tony. We told you don't renew it.
Well,
don't
guess what?
Renew it.
You are in power now. If it is against the will of the people, please renegotiate the contract.
And Mr. Gimme,
and we go
mention
from there.
also that we've been fished to death because a lot of people don't know.
Oh yeah, the boat fisher.
Yes,
that's another deal we signed.
So-called protecting the coast of Liberia instead of Liberia having 12 nautical miles. They could not with the Europeans. They put a place in Coast Guard base. I went to that place.
You see the problem there now.
Where they're monitoring the area, they see they're monitoring.
You guys are being idealistic here. You're not looking at your current condition. You're a very poor country. You have no resource, no way to raise money.
Argument.
No, it's not. It's not.
The Europeans and
Mr. Gimme, give me 10 seconds, please. Give me 10 seconds, please.
We don't have to take bad deals.
One second. Europe pinned the tail on Africa as their donkey. Europe used Africa to industrialize. Africa don't have another quote unquote Africa to use to industrialize. That's the conundrum we're in. You can't go to another place and take their resources and
What are you talking
industrialize.
about, Mr. Morris?
Hold on, please. Allow me my 10 seconds. My point here is
Don't go
when you have
nowhere. Use your own law. Use your own water. The fish that there. Sell the fish.
how
Value to it.
how you need
Listen,
hold
you
on,
got
please,
capital- you
Mr.
got
Kamara, please
capital in
stop
Liberia.
it.
You got
Stop
capital
it.
in Liberia.
You
What
need
are you saying?
hold on.
Furniture store in
Please
Liberia.
hold on. You need machines. You need machineries to go in there and cut those big trees down.
Let's
You
go to
need
the next one.
you
can
need
buy
trucks to
machines.
bring those logs from
You
the
can buy
forest.
machines.
You need
just bought
roads to have.
$400,000
You
car.
need money to
You
do
just
those
bought
things.
$400,000 car. You can
No,
buy
you need
machines.
money to do those things.
Mr.
You got
Morris,
Joseph Boyka coming in. If you since you
buy
already have all the money,
$800,000
let him do
minister.
everything.
Morris,
Every 3 years, you
Mr.
buy car for
Morris.
all the senators, all the representatives.
These guys are being
Mr.
idealistic
Morris.
here. They're not looking at the actual fact on the ground.
Mr.
Go ahead,
Morris,
Mr. Gimme.
I have always agreed with you, but on this one,
The more you get it, man.
what Mr. Eastman and the rest are saying, if we are going to give out the concession agreement, according to Global Witness, how can you, in your red mind, sign the 68 greatest concession right that you have in your country? 66 out of 68 is broken against the people. Mr. Kamara is saying we should turn it around. In fact, it should be 30-70. Okay? That should be our bargaining chip. We are coming out here. If you want to do business with us, you got to get us 70%, 30%. If you like it, take it. If not, we'll do this.
No, you have to look. You have to have tangibles to back it up. Why they should give you 30% of the deal? No, you have to have it. That's why when you go on a negotiation table, the people are looking. The people are negotiating with you. They know what leverage you have and what leverage you don't have.
We have the tangible. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for this particular section. Let's move to
Smart Ellen Jones is at sound sister says bogus agreement.
Let's move forward now.
You see, Mr. White, I want to. I mean,
no.
So then, at the time, she didn't have the leverage. That's the point that I'm making. She didn't have the leverage. That was the point. And you still don't have the leverage now. So ask for 30%.
Listen, guys.
You still don't have it. It doesn't matter. She spent 12 years there, and we still don't have the leverage.
Mr. Eastman, you are the politician here. We're going to the next one, which is the president-elect Joseph Boakai sudden transformation. Joseph Boakai.
It's about to get ugly.
During the election, we were hearing people say, this guy has been in government since 1966. He's so modest. He lives in a little house. He doesn't need anything. He is just satisfied with what he has. He doesn't need money. In fact, that's why he said he took loan, because he doesn't get into money. He's not fancy. All of a sudden, Mr. Eastman, Joseph Boakai, we saw him, his political team were putting out photograph of the new Joseph Boakai. He looked at Michael Jackson. He wore the Michael Jackson swag. He got a Michael Jackson hat. He got a Michael Jackson belt. He like this. Sometimes he like this.
You saw him with a glove too?
You saw him with a glove? And then the next thing we knew, Joseph Boakai was at a dinner in Washington, D.C. with all lobbyists, the people that are actually holding hostage. He having the whining and dining him. Joseph Boakai got to Liberia with a Rolex watch. A Rolex.
Okay, let Mr. Eastman answer you now.
This is a man this man came to America with a watch called Mortimer. The Mortimer watch. You remember Mortimer watch? The man wore Mortimer watch from Liberia, went back home with Rolex. Mr. Eastman.
You know me, I talk to Tulsa. We don't want him to be extravagant in dressing, like wearing $3,000 sneakers. But at the same time, you have to dress the part. I remember one time I was doing my MBA, and I was a tech at the same time, and I went there with my short trousers. The instructor looked at me a long time and said, "You studying as an MBA now?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you got to look the part." In other words, my short trousers wouldn't fly. So we should expect that Mr. Boakai must look presidential. We say he need to buy Italian $2,000 to $3,000 Italian suits, but he must look good He must be presentable to the public because people take you by your appearance. Your appearance, as you well know, as dapper as you are, Mr. Gaiman, you know appearance means a lot. So we want the president looking dignified, looking like someone can believe he's a president. So it's not too bad. I don't want him to get caught up because actually there will be a lot of these deals we have just been talking about. These people cajole you. They do all sorts of things so they can make their deal. We don't know the amount of kickbacks that were gotten. You know, I remember the other day the chief of the European, they said, how can Liberia make such a deal to give China those fishing rights? They couldn't believe it. It's not even their own thing, but it outraged them. So yeah, these people will come to you in all kinds of disguises, and all they want to dine and wine you so they can make a deal. So he's going to have to be very, very careful because there will be a lot of temptations he has not seen before. You know, as I said, when you get power, it can corrupt you in a way that you wouldn't even have realized. So it's good to take note, but we want him looking like a president.
Mr. Kamara,
Yes.
I am flabbergasted. That Joseph
I
Boakai,
saw it coming.
the man from Foya, he's very modest. In fact, he rather wear a high suit than go out there and wear Italian suit. Mr. Kamara, when the man got elected, we came here, he was modeling they were suiting him up. Not only was he taking his measurement, but he did it live.
Okay.
And he was modeling.
Okay.
Joseph Boakai is now the new how do you call it? The new Don.
Okay.
He's the new John Gotti. We see him with a slit hat.
Man, man.
Measurement. Mr. Kamara, what happened to this modest man that nothing catches his eye? He is just you said he will never change. Boakai will always be Boakai because that's who he is. What happened to Joseph Boakai?
Okay. So what I said about Boakai, that Boakai will always be Boakai, that's exactly what he's proving. As vice president for 12 years, he never wore Rolex because at that time he was serving. The money didn't belong to him. As vice president for 2 years, he never renovated his house because he didn't have the money. The money wasn't for him. As vice president, he was not coming to America to try new suits on because he was serving. Now Joseph Boakai is going to serve. Before he begins to serve, he got to do a little pledge, have a little fun, because once he sits in executive mansion, it's time to serve.
So you didn't have the money. Where the money coming from now?
Well, let me tell you something.
Mr. Morris, this man saying, he said our president should
He's
have
calling it himself. You should have pledge with who money?
Mr. Morris, the president, this man is saying here in straight face, telling us that Joseph Boakai should have pledge. Mr. Morris.
But not letting you.
No, let him finish, Mr. Gamer. Let him finish with the thing he's saying.
I thought you were calling it short. Okay,
No,
Joseph Boakai,
that's why you want me to cut it short. That's why you want me to cut it short, because you're looking for a help from Evans. But let me tell you, let me tell you this. All right, when Joe Boakai get in that office, you're not seeing him.
No, what you mean when you get there? So only all the things that you do before you get there, it don't matter. Only when you get there, then it starts to matter, huh?
But listen, you my people. When was the last time you gave Joseph Boakai a salary of the president? When?
The same argument we made it. People say our job we can renovate a house. When we say the man working, the man is president, he's making hundreds of thousands of dollars on a yearly basis. He can afford it.
Excuse me.
Go ahead,
your president was senator. He now renovated one house. He couldn't afford it from his senatorial money. He became president. He break it down flat and rebuild it. It's not the same thing. It's not
about vice president. He couldn't renovate a house. Now he's president. He's renovating a house. You're making arguments that are just projecting.
They keep on adding more time.
Go ahead, Go ahead.
Yeah. So if you break down a house in 3 months, your salary is under 25,000. You break down a house, you spend over $1 million building a house in less than 3 months. What you expect others? Not only one house, 2 houses within the same year. Jamaica Resort. Within the same year, we started the 46 condominium that Joe has already. It's not
Listen,
possible.
listen.
Please, let me come in now, Mr. Gaiman. Let me come in, please.
Excuse me now. For the whole 6 years, Joe, we didn't make that kind of money. But Joseph Boakai, for me, I am ready to hold Joseph Boakai accountable starting from January to the 22nd.
Oh,
So yeah, what I say,
He's not
I saw it
president of
coming. That's why
Nigeria.
I interrupted.
Elvis,
He said it doesn't matter now. Only when he become president.
Joseph Boakai Frank can get his watch. Joseph Boakai, anybody can get his car now. As president, then we'll deal with him at that point.
Mr.
Wow.
Elvis Morris, Mr. Kamara is twisting himself into donut nuts.
That's all right.
Because when Joseph Boakai was a regular person, nobody gave him a dime.
Joseph Boakai have never been a regular person.
Listen, but when Joseph Boakai became president-elect, they said it is
since 1971. Joseph Boakai has never been a regular person.
His new home, the renovation on his home is $500,000 US. Who is doing this?
I think it's 150,000. I don't think it's 500,000.
We heard,
I think it's 150,000, not half a million.
I heard $500,000.
That one, Joseph Boakai home not value 150,000.
I asked the Unity Party people where the money coming from. They say friends of Boakai people.
Yeah, friends of Boakai.
Now 150,000.
So, Mr. Kamara, where the money coming from to renovate her that he couldn't do when you thought you were vice president?
The Lebanese,
Wow.
Mr. Morris.
Let me come in, please, Mr. Gaiman, please. I got you.
In the chair, he's corrupt already. The man say he need time to have him pleasure.
Yeah. Mr. Gaiman, I've said on this platform and I'll reiterate.
Power to GMB, yeah. Bravo.
Yes, I'll reiterate. Look, Unity Party and Unity Party partisans are hypocrites of the highest order.
That's all right.
They are hypocrites. And the one thing I would say about Joseph Boakai here, Michelle Obama said it right. Power doesn't change, power doesn't change a person. They only show you who they are. Right? People of the Unity Party ran on this idea, this false narrative that Joseph Boakai is this man who don't have interest in material wealth. Don't have please hold on. He doesn't have interest in acquiring wealth. And we've seen it now, it's not the case.
But what they say you can't accept gift.
I said it before. No, you can't accept emoluments as a president-elect. That's a conflict of interest. It's a conflict of interest.
What's the Constitution?
I'm telling you, Mr. Kamara. Let me finish my thought. Let me finish my thought.
Kamara, the LSCC law says a public
official. Don't just say LSCC law is wrong.
You cannot
now they're defending corrupt acts.
You cannot accept gift.
They were unjust. We are cussing him from front to back. Now they're accepting it and defending it. So my point here is, Joseph Boakai house has been on our road in rehab. People pass his house. Even the George Weah house, there many people say George Weah house in rehab is nothing special.
You want to run into my house? Let you renovate it right now.
No, please. The point here is, why is Joseph Boakai renovating his house at this time?
Not him.
Why is he hanging around? Hold on. Why is he hanging around criminals? Why is he receiving gifts and not making it public? If he's going to be transparent, look. If you tell me who you want to be, the person that you tell me you want to be are the actions. Your actions have to show it. You say you want to be transparent. You want to be a president who's going to fight, corruption. You want to show that you have integrity. These things are not integrous. These things are things that you're doing that is, is behind the door.
For transition.
No. These things are the government wanted to give him stipends to the people official. You refuse it, but then you're taking gifts from people who we don't know who you're taking the gifts from. That's opaque. It's not transparent. It's opaque. Mr. Kamara, Joseph Boakai is showing us who he is. This is who he is. He said, how you mean the man told you were poor? He told you were living on loan. You were broke. He told that from his very mouth. No, unless he was lying to us. Unless he was lying to us. So we can't trust him.
Mr. Tao.
Gentlemen, you see, for me,
listen. One minute.
No, you can't wait for you because the question will be long. You'll forget.
Yeah.
The man is building. This man got elected. They said he had lived a common life all his life. All of a sudden, he got elected, and he transforming his home. The home is being rebuilt. his wardrobe has changed. He's wearing Rolex watches. In fact, when they were in opposition, they said George Weah was guilty by going to the airport and had thousands of people line up as though he was king. The first thing Joseph Walker did when he was coming, he saw the airport. There were no space. The exact. So what is the change here, Mr. Taiwo? Talk to me.
Yeah. So you see, for me, I don't belong to any political party, and I'm not a partisan, right? Because I'm for the Liberian people, and I'm for Liberia. Because when most of the time we belong to various political parties, it tend to sway our views. Because okay, so in the first place, I will come back to this again. All our officials in general and in government, they're most likely going to be corrupt, and this is why. Because I'm coming to the Boaka, so because we're talking about corruption, what is where of this, right? But the question is where he got the money from, all of this stuff. But do we really ask the question, who sponsored these elections? Who sponsored the campaign? Because I was in Liberia and somebody said how rich Cummings is and everything. And I said, no rich person take their own money to run no campaign, not presidential campaign. So, gentlemen, the democracy, I'm coming back to that again. The democracy that we're adapting from the West is corrupt, it's for sale. People, it's a business. People finance these things. So they sit in the background for them to get the kind of logging deals that we are talking about, for them to get the mining rights that we are talking about, for them to get those fishery rights that we are talking about. So we are going to be realistic. Mr. Morris, I know that you are concerned about like where we get this money for us to develop, and that's a good point. And we're all raising good points. We all have that interest, right? But what we are saying here is that let us find a way within our culture, in our tradition, for us to fashion out a system so that we don't have these discussions. Because Boaka team will say, oh, he right for him to get this money. George Weah team will see. But if we're talking about where he got the money from, who sponsored their election? Because that is what we should first start. Because that's where the corruption begins. The way the democratic system is set, the structure. Okay, we want to say model after America. In the US, it's maybe $2-3 billion for you to run for president. A president that's supposed to serve the people. Who has that kind of money? Where do you get that kind of money from? So if people put out that kind of money, they sit in the background and ready to collect.
Special interest.
So it's the same system that we have. So these elections are sponsored by people. Whether it was George Weah election the 3 times, whether it was Ellen, and we see that once they come into power, we see the way the concession deals and the different things go. Then you can see who are the people that sponsor these elections. So we are talking about that. But look, for me, the renovation of the house, Boaka been living in that house. I know his son Jojo. I know I went by a house many times. As president, I don't think, like Ismail said, it shouldn't be anything extravagant. But now he's the president. Maybe should there be some security features put in place? Should there be some modification to where?
No, you're not supposed to touch it.
So I think, to my personal knowledge, that is necessary. Now, to what extent? I think that should be the question. And when George Weah, I was in Liberia when George Weah did his personal house. That was not the issue for me, because nobody expect for him to lay over there. Everything is low and there is no security features. But it was when he started doing personal houses and condominiums and all this stuff. So we'll see where Boaka go, right? But look, to close on this, gentlemen, I tell you again, the way the system is set, and from my understanding, from all of the studies that I have done and look across the board, and the uniform is consistent, nothing good coming from the Boaka government to where it will really reflect the interest of the Liberian people. Because the guys, their hands are tied.
Mr. Gongo can't tie in a bow for us on the border corruption issue.
The way in which you come in, the way in which you stop the structure, the way in which the repayment of loans and all the stuff, the countries are hijacked to the point if you actually really want to open your mind and you understand, it's not that the people cannot really do something now. They're corrupt. We're not going to, debate that aspect.
Great.
But they come in already hijacked from just the way.
So give me 1 minute, please.
No,
Let Mr. Gongo come in. I don't know why he came in. You should have came.
Just jump here.
You should have came in earlier, Mr. Gongo. We missed you on the show.
We got no time. Mr. Gongo, welcome. We are on here.
No, but I want to know where the man came from.
I'm coming.
I saw you decided to come.
Mr. Gongo, we are on the instant transformation of Joseph Boakai. They say Joseph Boakai came to America with a flip phone. He left with a $3,000 iPhone. He came with a multiple watch. He went with Rolex. Joseph Boakai, all of a sudden, is renovating his house. He's not even in power yet. So we are talking about his people. Joseph Boakai, that was supposed to be the modest guy, the regular guy. He's on TV looking like Michael Jackson. He got Michael Jackson shoes on, Michael Jackson belt. They got a different kind of photo of Joseph Boakai, the real Joseph Boakai face there. Then they got a Photoshop on where he's laughing. What's wrong with Joseph Boakai and the instant transformation for a guy who said he came for a change? The young generation were frivolous. They were living this kind of life. And that it wouldn't happen. Here, what happened to Joseph Boakai? What's going on with Joseph Boakai?
Well, firstly, I'm sorry for getting on the show late. You don't put a blame on me because the host did not send the link to me. I was actually watching the show and I said, oh, but this guy sent the agenda to me, but he didn't send the link. So they just sent the link to me like a few minutes ago, Alio. So it was not my fault. I'm sure you got a link before 4 o'clock. I didn't get that link. So I just received the link.
Alio deleted your link. He didn't want you to come. Go ahead, Mr. Gongo.
But on a serious note, I will address that issue. I'll make my comment, but I wanted to make a quick comment on Mr. Tao. I listened to him earlier. He was talking about the development partners are using development and not industrialization. And I just wanted to make a quick comment that I'm passing, and I'll come on the Joseph Boakai apparent corruption saga. The World Bank, the Bretton Woods institutions, the learning institutions, there's something chronic about Africa. African thieves, our leaders, who I will call them African thieves, when they steal, they invest the money in Swiss bank or in developed countries bank, so they don't care about for them, because these lenders know the money that they're taking, they're giving as loan to African leaders, to African countries. These monies are sitting down in Western countries' bank. They know that, so they don't really care. What happened in 1997, the Asian economic financial crisis in 1997, I think it started in Thailand, they involved many other Asian countries. So they call it the Asian financial crisis or the Asian tiger economic crisis. The international community got worried. They got nervous and spent billions of dollars to rescue the Asian economy. The reason they did that was all the money the Asian countries have been crediting, as from the World Bank, from other institutions, they've been investing in small-scale industry. The money not sitting in a bank. So they were nervous that if these people become insolvent, they can't pay by the loan, we can't get the money from any bank from them. The money is sitting, they have invested in industry, in small-scale industry. In case of Africa, they don't care because they can rush a Swiss bank and take the money when that African leader is no more. So they don't really care. So I wanted to just pass that out. But on the Joseph Boakai issue,
so the corruption is being fueled by Western financial system.
Yeah,
they're the one that leading the corruption of Africa.
I hope everybody is listening. Everything gets buttressed what we say. The money is there.
Let's go, Mr. Gongo.
So on the Boakai corruption issue, here is what I will say, and those who maybe disagree with me. I don't have facts on anything that is going on because it's just social media posting or radio, phone call, and what have you. Wow. But I think there's something very clear. Like I watched Boakai birthday celebration. That was the first time I saw such an elaborate birthday celebration. Not even when you were vice president of the Republic of Liberia. I didn't see such a birthday celebration. I saw Lebanese people bringing truckload of drinks, wine, and what have you. You know, one may say, oh, that's gesture. But under our law, as a public official, Joseph Boakai is a president-elect, duly certificated. He has been announced, and with state security guarding him, so he's become state property. So if people are giving him gifts that worth more than $25, it's against the code of conduct. You know,
emoluments.
so it's against the code of conduct. One may argue that he has not taken
It's about to get hot in here.
now,
Mr.
but
Mr.
he's
Gongolo,
actually enjoying state immunity because
Mr. Gongolo, give us the code of conduct with specificity. The code of conduct that says an elected president who has not taken office cannot take $25.
no, the code
Give
of
us the
conduct
code of
addresses
conduct.
public officials, right?
So
Public
you're just a
official, but
public
Joseph Boakai
official?
is a public official.
Elected public officials.
He's a public official.
Elected public
So
official.
what? Yes,
He's elected.
Yes, he's not public official yet.
Alio,
No,
that
he
is not
is.
even an argument. Why is security guarding him? State
But you see,
security.
I want you to give me a quote. Don't just say this, that.
So,
Mr. Kamal,
Mr.
you're
Kamara,
justifying Joseph Boakai taking gifts from unscrupulous characters.
No, I want to learn. I want to learn.
No,
I want to
no.
learn. Give me
Alio,
reference.
what I would
you will
say,
learn.
Alio, what I would say
You
on
gotta let
this
me
is
speak.
this.
Go ahead, Mr. Gongolo.
Yeah, what I would say on this. I know you may want to push back on this, but there's something Dr. Adula Douglas said on the show a few weeks ago. That one can get to the presidency if you don't have the courage and you don't have a focus, you can lose focus. Because you can wake up in the morning and it says students are demonstrating in Pinsville, or there is a roadblock in Yikepa, and your whole presidency is finished. You are focused on addressing crises and you forget about all the other things. Okay? And I think Boakai and his people must be careful here. Because all these gifts, all these apparent conflict of interest, you know, they say I don't even know brand name. I don't know the value of brand. I saw this thing on, I'll be the first to admit I don't know this thing. But people are written about it that the watch he's wearing is not the same watch he wore when he came from Liberia. When he returned to Liberia, in fact, they had the photo on social media that the list in that watch is.
They didn't know how his wardrobe was packed before he left Liberia.
The man was wearing men's warehouse collection. He come out with a money suit. He say what?
Come on, Mr. Taro.
So
I'm just asking.
That's what they said.
So
So for me, if you know, what is now good for the presidency is the same thing happened to President Weah. When you begin with these kinds of widespread rumors, that maybe your PR people don't come and address it immediately.
No, some things are just noise.
You know, when you repeat even what is not true many times, people begin to subconsciously believe that it is true. Now, with so many rumors swirling around Boakai trip to the US, that even his son Jojo Bijo received $150,000.
We also heard that he was going to die in America. He was not going to go back to Liberia. All that one. So people should respond to all those.
Mr. Kamara,
yeah.
You are talking about somebody's opinion. We are talking about empirical evidence. Where
what is empirical
we see it our eyeball. We see it our eyeball.
Taking measurement for tailor-made.
So
these are
how you know the price? How you know the price?
Mr. Gongolo, go ahead, man.
No, so Alio, you can push back, gentlemen. I think I will just end my thought on this, but let's continue on that. I know Alio is there to push back because
he
doesn't want to do the needful thing to admit that he himself is reading these things. I mean, Boakai is not in the budget yet, so we can say this much has been allocated to his office. We don't know how much has been allocated for inauguration. We don't know many stuff, right? We saw the birthday celebration. Do you deny the amount of wine, the amount of donation that came from the business community, the Lebanese and the Indians? We saw that. Okay? I mean,
when I was graduating school, I had more wine at my graduation than that wine you saw over there. Let me just tell you something.
Let me
tell you.
Excuse me. What kind of Madigo man?
Yeah, no, not Madigo man, but what
Madigo
kind of
man?
Muslim man would
A
be drinking
Muslim
wine? It's
man have
haram.
more wine
It's
than the
haram.
president. You see how this thing, Mr.
Let
Kamara,
me tell you something.
Mr. Kamara, Mr.
Yeah.
Kamara, let me ask you the real question, real quick. What is it? What happened in the church that Mrs. The first lady took something from her mouth, and put it in Joseph Boyka's mouth? What is that? What is going on here with these people?
But let me ask you something now. Have you ever
No,
kissed your
don't
wife
ask me.
before?
Answer the question.
The woman took something from her mouth. She not taking it and put it in her boyfriend's mouth. She put it in her husband's mouth. That one bother you? Let me just address something here quick.
Not in public. Oh man,
Let
I
me
actually be doing that kind of
brother,
dancing, not
now.
sitting in public.
People kiss in public all the time. How do you kiss a guy when you get married?
But
Let me tell you something here. All right, Mr. I knew Mr. Bungalow were going to come here to hammer on this thing. For him, any chance he get, a deep Joseph Boyka, you fire. But here's the deal. People should come and speak about somebody sit down to their house, eat a burger, and sit down there and write. Say somebody watch on their hand is 45,000, is 50,000. Some people say 70,000. Some people say 35,000. You really want Joe Burger to respond to this?
Mr. Kamara, answer the question. Is it Mr. Boyka's sickness that he needs? Some people say it looks like, from what I noticed, that is halitosis, bad breath, that you need to chew gum all the time. The other scenario could be not only that, but he needs to chew gum to keep himself awake. Those are the two things that happen because Joseph Boyka was about to sleep, and the woman took the gum from her mouth.
You take all that
maybe he got teeth in your mouth to chew the gum. Like, baby, you know the man got to chew the food and put it in the baby mouth. Maybe that's what it was.
I mean, in public, the hygiene. I mean,
what was the last time? Anybody ever seen your wife?
Jerome, I disagree with you.
Jerome, when was the last time anybody ever seen your wife? You jealous? Joseph Boyka has a beautiful wife. I bet you to put your wife out here, let her put for you more. Let's see. You're jealous.
So you call your man wife ugly? Don't be like Donald Trump calling Ted Cruz wife ugly. Don't do that to the show.
But Jerome, I disagree with you on that one. I disagree. I think there are many things you can do to keep one guy away. You know, I mean.
So why was she putting that thing in her mouth? That's what I want to know.
Right, the fact that she had to chew it first before she put it in his mouth. Right, why chew it?
He look around and nobody watching it. He put it in his mouth.
I mean,
Mr. Gongo, chime in real quick.
No, I think she was just showing true love.
Yeah, you don't have that disagreement. Your wife can shut.
Yeah, why would chew your meat for you and put it in your mouth that you love?
Mr. Eastman, you the diplomat here. Are you listening? I'm listening. I know your beautiful wife is there. Well, she never put anything in your mouth in public, so I guess she doesn't love you. Joseph Boyka, white took something from her mouth, put it in his hand. He looked around and nobody watching. And he put it in his mouth, and they try to behave like nothing happened. I mean, you're on camera 24. What's wrong with this old man, Mr.
Yeah, but give me, they knew they were on camera.
Of course.
They knew they were on camera. I'm talking to Mr. Eastman here. The man thought nobody was watching. Go ahead.
You know, they're going to have to remember that the camera is on them 24/7, scrutinizing even every eye, every look. Even if the eyeball turns so the camera looking there. Why the man eye turn there? The gesture itself wasn't outrageous. However, you know, we did see affection between he and his wife. You know, I think that's very positive because people who've been married very many years like that, you don't see them acting all like that.
But us, give
so
it,
you know, it is good to see a Liberian man loving his wife that long. You know me, I'm one person who I can't hate. If you do bad, I'll tell you you do bad. You do good, I'll tell you you do good. It's for you to see that kind of love expression between people after 40, 50 years. That's extreme. However, I think they're going to have a little more scrutiny on what they do in public because their eyes are on them constantly. They made a mention of but they say we shouldn't talk about America, But we've seen displays, Joe Biden kissing his wife in front of everybody, right? They talked about it for a couple of weeks and then it went away. So, I think this is going to be one topic that's going to be left under, but it does allow us to know that he still has, between the two of them, they still
Something
share
else
a lot.
try.
I think it's a learning curve. It's going to be a learning curve.
It was a
Maybe
health
they didn't know that
issue.
one.
It was a health issue. The man had bad breath.
That's why your website. That's why your website can't kiss you. That's why you want to go on other people.
And then he needs to be up. He needs to be up all the time, and he needed to chew gum. And the woman kept knocking him on his lap. He won't wake up.
Mr. Gamer, go to the next topic now.
Why? Why do you that we hit the Joseph Waka? Don't worry, you got 6 years of it.
Let's toss on the zero here. Somebody kiss a woman.
I could see the slap.
They're not kiss. You're not kiss. You're not kiss. Kiss is different.
Somebody, you're miserable.
We got 20 minutes. We got 20 minutes to go. Let's go to the political play of the year, Mr. Gonglo. I was
no, Mr. Gamer, please switch around. Mr. Gonglo, I go 3 times in a row.
Oh, okay. Well, Mr. Gonglo, it looked like you got.
When it came to Joe Burger, he was.
I'm Mr. Gonglo Allah, but he said no.
You got haters.
No, I'm Mr. Gonglo Allah. I'm Mr. Gonglo Allah. You know that one.
I just came. Let me be the last.
They are envious of you.
No, when it comes time to bash Joe Burger, the man support Gonglo. When Gonglo on a different topic now, Gonglo can speak.
No, you say you've been going to Gonglo. Then go to Mr. Tao. Then go to me.
Your political person of the year in Liberia.
Who gave him that tattoo?
I will be very frank.
Mm-hmm.
I really am not familiar with any of the guys that really serve in terms of their achievement, or any kind of stunt that they pull. And so, but I will say one thing, and it's not because I support that person, but if you look at how all the political things unfolded in Liberia, I will actually say Boyka. The reason is because it's almost like I watched just how things was unfolding, and pretty much at one point it's like he was out. Everything he was falling out with just about everybody when they came together in their CPP or CP, and he pretty much got out of that, and he had his last ally in Yuri and Costa. And then when they fell out, it was like, oh man, it seemed like he's going to be done. But then he was actually able to navigate all those guys and actually win.
Okay, great. Mr. Eastman, your politician of the year.
Politician, it's a toss-up. I know a lot of people don't want to give Prince Johnson credit because they say he only rides, he feels the public and then makes a decision which way to go. So whenever he makes a decision, it always looks like he's smart because he has already been, he makes the right decision. But I think, to his credit, if you know how to feel the wave of what in politics they got something called riding the wave, where the sentiment is going. If you jump on that wave, it can carry you all the way to the top. So the fact that he has learned how to ride the wave makes him, I think, in my impression, the most adept politician. He has learned how to ride waves, whether he's bringing his own ideology or not. But he's always looking for the waves and jumping on. And then you guys ever surf? If you want to surf, you have to know how to time the wave. When the wave comes, you jump on it.
Your politician is who?
Prince Johnson.
Prince Johnson. Excellent. Elvis, your politician of the year.
Appleton. I think Appleton is a man who came out of nowhere, have built tremendous political capital for himself. Is probably going to get some kind of lavish, position in Joseph Boyka administration. Somebody who barely any of us knew about rose to come, I think, third in these elections, which is unheard of. So somebody who didn't have any political cachet in Liberia to come third in a political, in a highly fought election like we had in 2023. I think his political stock rose the highest.
Right.
And I think the biggest loser, you coming to that later or?
Yeah, we're not coming. We're not there. Mr. Gonglo.
Well, I hate to do this, but I have to do it because my conscience dictates that I should do that because it's the right thing to do. I would say Councillor Gonglo is my political figure of the year.
Okay.
Here is the reason why I say. Because I'm an insider. This guy started a presidential campaign with $5,000 US dollar. And he visited more than 350 towns and villages in Liberia, sleeping on the road, using only 2 vehicles. In fact, in most instances, 1 vehicle. He did not consider the interests of the state or the Liberian people based on how much resources he have or he doesn't have. He said, I will go to where the people live and I will tell them what the country needs and what I'm able to do. Throughout the campaign, he made lifestyle audit. The fact that people should serve government for what they can offer as opposed to what they can get from government, he made that as front and center of a public debate. And even those who won today, they are beginning to talk about things that they never talk about. They are beginning to make corruption front and center, talking about audit, which they didn't talk much about during the campaign. So I think Councillor Gonglo is having an impact on their thinking that, hey, we got to do something. So in a way, yes, he made the Broom movement very popular, and I would say he's my political person of
Good. Mr. Kamara, your political person of the year.
I must say, I wish my brothers loved me like the way they men like a brother. But anyway, my political man of the year is Joseph Numa Tambakwakai. And the reason for that is simple. I think my brother over there just made it clear, so I wouldn't be speaking for long on this issue. This is a man that was seriously combated by rich people, so they got more money than him. This is a man who was demonized, politically demolished to an extent. This is a man who everybody said was dying. He was ridiculed. This is a man who would come out of the CPP fighting. If some people in the CPP try to, deprive him of running in this election. He inserted a clause in there to make sure that he doesn't run. He had to fight that. Came from the back. People were leaving him. People were joining. He was able to galvanize some of the most important people in terms of voting, like Prince Johnson and other people. Organized the largest political alliance we've seen in a very long period of time. This man, Joseph Yuma Walker, will come. A guy who had to resist his former boss, who have vowed that he would not be president. This guy will stand against one of the most popular, in fact, the most popular man that Liberia has ever known, George Foklekon Manewia, and will emerge from nowhere. He had no money. People had to go on radio stations to collect money on his behalf, among other things. He was living from here and there, getting $1 or $2 just to make it through. He still came on top of the millionaires and won this election. Joseph Burger is my man. He's a politician of the year.
Good. My politician of the year is obviously George Opon Bekube Manewia, a man who kept our country safe and secure, a man who balances everything. And at the end, he put the interests of the nation first and have a peaceful transition. Today, we are going to a new year, a new administration with no bloodshed, no Supreme Court fight. That, my friend, is true patriotism. And that's my political person of the year. Now, let's go to the political
loser.
Let me go first.
No, I'll go first. I don't want to sleep out.
the political loser of the year, Mr. Elvis Morris.
Yeah. Look, political loser of the year is Alexander Benedict Cummings. I think we all thinking the same thing. We can't ascribe to him, we can't really ascribe what caused him to perform so dismally in these elections. But with all the money, all the the effort that he put into this campaign, the big mouth of Musa Bility, you know, all of those things that happened, and for him to get a percentage, just 1%, is really really disappointing. And I mean, he lost big. I think his reputation, his political cachet is probably almost depleted when it comes to Liberian politics. But of course, a man of his caliber can rebuild it. But I think he lost a lot more than just political cash. I think he lost the respect of the political players in the country, and I think those people who were around him, most of them will probably try to find other places, other new political homes. So I think
Great.
Cummings was the biggest loser.
Great. We got limited time here, Mr. Tower. 1 minute. Your political loser.
I agree with Morris, actually, and I was going to say that. But what we need to point out here was Cummings going that far down was a boycott movement, and his strategy actually got him that down, because they both of them fought out this battle throughout, and it was almost like Cummings was pretty much going to be, because he was fighting trying to be president or trying to at least lead, and he thought for sure. So and like Morris said, I don't know how he's going to recover that easily. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Eastman, your loser of the year.
Wow, the biggest user. I can't. The old people used to say one thing. When they say, when you fail like a president, that was a big saying. He failed like a president. He failed like a president, because there's no other bigger failure than when you don't make it as president. So I got to say that I think it was a miscalculation on Becker's part. He should have won this thing in the landslide. The margin of victory was so thin. He could have, I mean, with the wave of his hand, he could have made a difference. And I think 6 years is a lot. I think after a while, it's going to set in and he's going to regroup. But for now, I think he's the biggest loser.
Great. Mr. Gonglo.
I would agree with Mr. Eastman on that. I think President George Weah is the biggest loser of the year, because he has all it took to win the presidency. And I think some point he just lost focus on his campaign team. Maybe he made some appointments during the campaign that constantly, on his campaign management team. I'm not too sure he was able to sit and have weekly and day-to-day meeting with the campaign management team to see what's happening in Sando, what's happening in Bongojile, what's happening in Nimba, I think he didn't focus on that. He put in a lot of energy, he put in a lot of money, but I think he didn't show the finesse towards the end. He didn't get the final touches on this. So I think to see him go out when he's has laid foundation for successful second term, I think it's the biggest loser, because like he just recently signed agreement to finish his southeastern road from Tapeta all the way to Fishtown. African Development is bringing that money. The person who want to benefit from now is Joseph Boyka, whereas George Weah secured the loan for the road. Okay, so he's the biggest loser.
Good.
Something that would have actually elevated him highly in the eyes of the Southeasterners.
Great.
Is now going to be completed by somebody else.
But for those of us who know, he's still elevated, Mr. Gonglo. He's still elevated.
Mr. We got 5 minutes here. Mr. Kamara, I want you to close on this. Your closing argument, I want you to do your closing, but you should address that, and then also address the political player of the year, real quick.
My biggest loser in the team are the muscle man. You know the muscle man? The single guy in the race. His name is
Small man, Iron Jagger.
His name is Clarence Moneybar. And one of the biggest loser. I got think I told him, say my begin, go beyond Uncle. And the next time we'll see what the trouble is. He say he can stand for it. So in fact, the message can be vice president for anybody said. So I got to ask and say, but what your experience? Because you're a minister and still have portfolio. You say you can't be vice president. Anybody?
Are you diversion private conversation?
Listen, sir, I said, go ahead and close. You got 1 minute.
You know? So they said, they will ask him, ask a man for a woman, he say, a woman has secret, nobody can see her. A ninja. You know? So the reason why he's the biggest loser is he got no chance in local government. And he like, bro, if you don't have a base, you're done. So he won a presidential bid, but let's just forget now. So he's a very bigger loser. Oh, the next question.
Political player of the year.
Political player of the year, of course, JMB. JMB is wearing the number 10 jersey. He's the
But the man
man
went already. He talked this thing, Jerome. Alio,
Yeah.
why you want to repeat yourself?
No, but he's a political player.
No, we said the
Political play.
political play.
Action.
Political play, not a player, play.
Yeah, PLAY, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I remember they play player. But anyway, political play, the biggest political. Oh, you talking about an event? Hey, my biggest political play. Look, there are so many. I don't know where.
Man, I said one, man. We got no time. We said one.
Yeah, my biggest political play was when all of these guys were putting their hand up to become vice president of Joseph Yuman Boakai, and the Yombly factor that almost collapsed. Some of us almost had a heart attack. And the way Joseph Yuman Boakai maneuver as a big player, number 10, the way he dribble, and brought Yombly and DeLon right back on the team and set the team right back on the train track, and the train started moving. It was beautiful, man. It was like a real midfielder.
Beautiful. Mr. Murray, real quick, your closing and your political play.
Right. Political play doesn't have to be a positive one. It could be a negative, right?
Of course not.
Okay. I think the biggest political play, and again, I'm not picking on Cummings. I think him picking Charlene Brumsky as his VP is the biggest miscalculation in terms of a political play. I think he made the wrong calculations. She's a qualified woman, but she didn't have the political cachet to boost her, to add anything to his ticket in terms of voting base. So I think he made a wrong calculation in that regards. And then my closing will just be, look, Focus on Liberia is an awesome network. I implore many of you to continue to watch this network. It's going to grow. We're going to do great things in the 2024. You know, we're going to be having a fundraiser for the radio station in Liberia pretty soon. So we encourage all of you to continue to watch this network. 2024 is going to be a big year for Focus on Liberia. That will be my closing. Thank you.
Good. Mr. Gonglo, 1 minute. Your closing and your political play of the year.
Well, my political player of the year, which I don't mention this in the positive sense, would be Sarah Beslow. With her international connections, with how far she went in the UN system. And I know when you work for international organization, there's a belief that your people back home love you. You have the grand game, you have the connection with the people. I think to allow herself to enter in the race so late, and she could not, go anywhere in the race. I think, it was not a good play for her because it kind of undercut her, tremendously. I would say that was my political play of the year, which I think was also not a positive play. But I will say this: this has been a great interaction. Whenever Leo is in the studio, it can be animated, it can be interesting. But I think next Sunday we're gonna keep watching this to see what the Joseph Boakai administration promises to bring on board. We're going to be watching for the first batch of cabinet nomination. For me, that would be where we determine how far the administration will go on, talking about the War Crown Code, the War and Economic Crown Code, talking about rule of law and fighting corruption. The first batch of appointment will determine whether his heart is in the right place.
Thank you. Mr. Taiwo, 1 minute. Your political play of the year and closing. 1 minute.
My political play of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You don't follow politics too much, so maybe you just do your closing.
Okay, just do your closing.
I want to be very thankful and I really appreciate you having me on this show because I spent a lot of time trying to see if I could find a platform where I could kind of just discuss and offer my one or two ideas to the public and to the Liberian people, and for giving me the opportunity to be on this platform. I appreciate it, especially with great hosts and guests and other guys like the group that is here. And I'm really grateful, and I look forward to always coming on here. And I will always be honest. If there is something that I don't understand and I'm not versed with, I'm going to just say I don't know it. But our hope is that the incoming government do well. But I take that with a pinch of salt, gentlemen. I mean, I just stand on. I don't think that anything different will happen. Actually, there might be a attempt, but it's not going to be any different. And from my understanding, experience with this, the next government is always worse than the previous government. That is the democracy that we are practicing in Africa is gone that way for 90% of the time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eastman. Your closing and your political play of the year.
By the way, the next 2 years I will speak back up to him. I will say phone if you have funny very soon.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Eastman, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate you guys' answers, but I don't know why it's so blaring. The political player of the year is Joseph Boakai. I remember how he started with the CPP, course, Mr. Cummings, and all the other ones that were moving him before I know they were sidelined. Then it was he and Uri, they were moving carefully together, financing his going there before I know.
Mr. Eastman, political play, not political player. So one action I was taking as a political action.
But let me talk about it. Let me talk to you. Go ahead, Mr. Eastman, enjoy you.
Then he brought after he sidelined in Costa. Then you saw him humbly and Dylan was in the play. Look, when they talk about player, he showed that they are that
player. That player.
Thank you.
After next year, I hope this is a turning point. We all, Liberia goes, we go. There's going to be a lot of challenges. We're ready to help them if they need help. Nobody wants position, but they need to make use of everybody and not let it be partisan. As soon as they begin to let it be partisan, it will go to the wrong way. So we look forward for a better Liberia tomorrow.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for 2023. We had a great show, Mr. Eastman. Thank you very much for your commitment and being with us for these years. Mr. Elvis Morris, thank you very much. You have been committed. You're here. We took it. Mr. Kamara, same thing. Mr. Tabo, welcome on board. We'd like to have you every Sunday we can. Mr. Gonglo.
Mr. Gonglo, come more often, please.
Tuning in every day and coming as often as you can. Now, my political player of the year is Joseph Boakai getting out of the CPP. I think the decision to get out of the CPP led him to where he is, gave him the leverage to make the choice to pick Jeremiah Kuhn and do all of the other stuff. So I think the biggest political player of the year was the decision to get out of the CPP, because they have set up the CPP to ambush Joseph Boakai, and he was able to maneuver himself out of that. And that was my major political play of 2023, and the result is self-evident. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in.
Happy New Year to everybody.
In a new year, and we are hoping for the first time.
I don't know why Morris has refused to call me.
I said I'll call you after the show, Mr. Gonglo. I said I'll call you after the show.
Focus on Liberia. Mr. Eastman suggested I would do a Christmas show for the children. So beginning next year, January, we are going to begin the process of raising funds. And hopefully we will begin where our base is in Atlanta, Georgia. We work with the Liberian community to make sure that we have a party that is befitting of all the children in Atlanta. We do in
Liberia, Mr. Gaiman, the children in Liberia, not in Atlanta.
We can do it either in Liberia, but we'll see. We start with our base in Atlanta, where we are based. That's our headquarters. We want to start it. If possible, we can do something in Liberia as well. So we thank you very much, guys. Happy New Year. Please go to church today and bring in the new year with a bang. And after you leave, When you're 1201, whatever happens, but
Happy New Year, we not die, so we still living, we
ladies
die.
and gentlemen, God bless. And as always, when we end our show, we say we are all Liberians.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.